accentuated little, and I wish I could forgive her, but I do believe she meant it when she told me to forget it, and I bet you will forget it when you find me in the morning wet and drowned, and the word gets round. I'm going down, I'm going down. I'm coming up for air, it's dirty stuff under there. I'd like to say I didn't care, but I forgot to leave a note, and it's so hot to stay afloat or soaking wet without a boat, and I knew I should have taken off my shoes. It's front page news. Going down, going down. She must have had another date. I didn't need a second way to wish that I could see the way to show. I don't want no more. Going down, I'm going down. I can now see the left, but let it slip it all away. I made a shuttle and a swim instead of naturally got my stomach. Can't believe it, why I jump like again. But tummy papa can't believe they drink this stuff in town. This dirty brown. Going down, going down, I'm going down. Before I leave, but didn't know it was so deep and down so far. Don't get wet, I haven't touched the...
Welcome everyone to this ceremony, this service of words, pictures and music to honour the life of Dr. Toby Saxmeyer. The music, the last piece you just heard, was the theme music to Toby's radio programme Twang, broadcast down in West Clare. She had a sweet, gentle voice for radio. Toby on the radio shared her love of country music, and she also had a parenting advice slot on Clare FM, which offered cool, calm voice of reason. We are here to celebrate the life of this accomplished, kind-hearted, versatile, adventurous, free-thinking, determined, animal-loving, music-loving woman. Thank you all for interrupting your routine to make it to be present to show your love and respect for Toby and the great support you have offered her husband Steve at this precious time. Thank you to all who have called, phoned, offered food and shoulders to cry on since she passed last week. It's been a long week since Toby fell asleep, but we're here now to walk her home and honour her. To those who have travelled long distances, welcome. And welcome to those who cannot be in the room with us today, but who are taking the time to join us on the live stream. Also welcome to Murphy, the dog she adored, inherited from her mother and brought all the way from America. I'm sure he doesn't know what's going on, but he's here to be with us, and Toby loved him deeply. My name is Fiona, and I casually knew Toby as part of the community in North Clare going back a while. I remember her smile as she bobbed into McGann's to listen to music or to have a pint. I remember her as a bright, interesting woman who would have to go home early as she would have a long drive to Cork in the morning. I also remember that she managed to fill the pub on a Tuesday night in February for a Mardi Gras fundraiser for musicians in New Orleans who had lost their instruments to Storm Katrina. That was some feat to fill a pub of a Tuesday in the winter. It turned into quite the event for a good few years, with all dressing up in beads, and there are some stories of beads being imported and almost going missing. You might have seen Toby wearing some beads herself last night when she was laid out. She brought colour to the darkness. Her life was so rich in giving time, giving attention, giving a gentle presence to many who needed help, support, calm from chaos, just respect. It was in her life's work and it was in her day-to-day engagements that those close to her will talk about that, her colleagues and her husband later on. First, I would like to invite her stepson, Steve, to offer a reflection.
I remember meeting Toby a long time ago, and she always meant a lot to me. She always meant a lot to my dad as well. And we've got a poem to read. I've got all kinds of things to... Okay. So, In Lieu of Flowers by Fiona. Although I love flowers very much, I won't see them when I'm gone. So in lieu of flowers, buy a book of poetry written by someone still alive. Sit outside with a cup of tea, a glass of wine, and read it out loud, by yourself or to someone, or just silently. Spend some time with a single flower, a rose maybe, smell it, touch the petals, really look at it. Drink a nice bottle of wine with someone you love, or champagne, and think of what John Maynard Keynes said, "My only regret in life is that I did not drink more champagne." Or what Dom Perignon said when he first tasted the stuff, "Come quickly, I am tasting stars." Take out a paint set and lay down some colours. Watch birds. Common sparrows are fine, pigeons too, geese are nice, robins. In lieu of flowers, walk in the trees and watch the light fall onto it. Eat an apple, a really nice big one. I hope it's crisp. Have a long soak in the bathtub with candles, maybe some rose petals. Sit on the front stoop and watch the clouds. Have a dish of strawberry ice cream in my name. If it's winter, have a cup of hot chocolate outside for me. If it's summer, a big glass of ice water. If it's autumn, collect some leaves and press them in a book you love. I'd like that. Sit down and look out of a window and write down what you see. Write down some other things. In lieu of flowers, I wish for you to be a flower. I wish for you to blossom, to open, and to be beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That was beautiful. Now we're going to have some music and some pictures.
I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. The needle tears a hole, the old familiar sting. Try to kill it all away, but I remember everything. What have I become? My sweetest friend. Everyone I know goes away in the end. And you could have it all, my empire of dirt. I will let you down, I will make you hurt. I wear this crown of thorns upon my liar's chair, full of broken thoughts. I cannot repair. Beneath the stains of time, the feelings disappear. You are someone else. I am still right here. What have I become? My sweetest friend. Everyone I know goes away in the end. And you could have it all. My empire of dirt, I will let you down. I will make you hurt. If I could start again, a million miles away, I would keep myself. I would find a way.
I'd now like to invite her colleagues to speak. First, we're going to hear from Noreen Buckley.
Good afternoon, everyone. I first met Toby on October the 22nd, 2008. That day, she joined me on the Children's Disability team in Ennis. And together, we set about developing a psychology service within the team, helped along the way by many of the people here today. Over the next 10 plus years, Toby and I worked full-time within about 10 feet of each other every single day. So we were lucky we got on. I gained an immensely talented, experienced, energetic and dedicated colleague that day, and someone who became a dear friend. Toby's energy, her work ethic and her commitment to children with disabilities and their families were a joy to behold. Over the last week, sort of reflecting on what I wanted to highlight about Toby, two things stood out: her confidence and her communication ability. Toby's confidence was inspiring. She had an unshakable inner belief that was never arrogant, but rather was expressed in her determination to help others, to effect meaningful change, to empower others, and to champion others. There are so many people here today, and people who are joining online, who benefited from Toby's intellect, her mentoring, her supervision, her kindness, her time, and her passion. Once she had a passion, she pursued it relentlessly. So not just inspiring, but sometimes exhausting. I'm sure I'm not the only one who found myself roped into something that I didn't quite plan to get that deep into. I'm thinking committees and drafting documents in particular. Toby was a wonderful writer, as you all know, and always full of ideas. She was always open to feedback, though, was always seeking it, appreciating it, and taking it on board. Toby was an excellent communicator, and her message was always accessible and persuasive. She used those wonderful communication abilities to great effect, be it with children, parents, at conferences, when she was teaching, or advocating within the wider disability system for the rights of children and young people. I realised since she died that I knew Toby for the last quarter of her life. And most of us, her colleagues here, kind of the same time. If the last quarter is anything to go by, I only begin to imagine the impact of the first 3 quarters. We did talk a lot about her life before Ireland, and also of her love of Ireland. She became a proud Irish citizen and loved North Clare in particular. It will come as no surprise to anyone that she had as rich and interesting a life, to which you alluded there, Fiona, outside of work as within. Speaking of her communication abilities, you mentioned her radio programme Twang. She loved local radio, and following working on local radio in the US, she pursued that interest here. And I fondly remember those years of her presenting music shows, which was my local radio station in Loop Head, Southwest Clare, Radio Corkabashkin. She used to joke that I was her only listener. I hope not, because she was excellent at that too. And of course, many of you will have heard, as you mentioned there, her regular parenting slot on Morning Focus and Clare FM. With that soft, gentle voice and her vast knowledge and love of music and of psychology, she was a natural, fluent, never missing a beat. Toby and I shared a lot of fun along the way, as we were next door to each other in an office that didn't have the public. There was lots of calling between the rooms, as some of you will remember. She regularly shared her latest plans for the extension on her beautiful cottage that you both love so much, Steve, or her cheese selling at the Doolin Market, or her latest knitting project. Wonderful conversations ranged from psychology to American politics, the Greek economy, feral cats, the latest technology gadget that she loved and was convinced that I needed in my house. We travelled to conferences and training events together, and the odd gig in North Clare, with Steve always willing to drop and collect us. Steve, she loved you above all and was so proud of you, your artistic talents when you went back to college and did your degree in art. We just heard all about that, and it was so wonderful. One of my earliest memories, and this is talking about Toby roping you into things, when working with Toby, was staying in the office after work to help her with this big poster she was creating to celebrate you on your big birthday. And I always recall that very excited phone call I got from her to tell me that you two had eloped to New Orleans. The Clare Children's Disability Team was so very lucky that Toby landed here and gave of her immense talents over all these years. I was very lucky, both professionally and personally, that Toby came into my life as all of you were here. Toby was always such a force for good. Bright, determined, witty, irreverent, curious, kind and loyal. We will all miss you, Toby, and we thank you for all that you gave us. And I'd like to end with just a few lines from a poem by John O'Donoghue on the death of the beloved. Let us not look for you only in memory, where we would grow lonely without you. You would want us to find you in presence, beside us when beauty brightens, when kindness glows and music echoes eternal tones. When orchids brighten the earth, darkest winter has turned to spring. May this dark grief flower with hope in every heart that loves you. May you continue to inspire us. Thank you, Toby.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Now we're going to hear from Alva and Michelle.
I'm just introducing a little piece from abroad. Toby brought a very innovative way of working with children and parents to County Clare in May 2018. And since then, thanks to Toby's dedication, her tireless work, her passion and commitment, the model has spread around the country. She has helped so many families directly through her own work and also indirectly through her support and guidance of all the other practitioners that she worked with. This model is called Collaborative and Proactive Solutions, or CPS, and it helps parents to problem solve with their children. She worked really closely with the psychologist who developed the intervention, Dr. Ross Green, and his colleagues at Lives in the Balance in the US. And obviously they cannot be here today, and there's a lot of other colleagues from the States who can't make it. Ross asked if we could share some of his thoughts.
So Ross says, I wish I was there in person to deliver these thoughts and to be with loved ones, friends and colleagues who are mourning Toby's passing. Many of us still stunned that she is no longer with us. Over the past 3 years, Toby and I spent countless hours planning, strategizing and training people in collaborative and proactive solutions. The model was in her heart, in her head and in her blood. And that was clear to everyone she helped learn about the model. Toby cared about people who needed something different: children, adults, caregivers and care providers. She believed the best about people and their potential. What she did in Ireland, the way she overcame hurdles, the way she patiently finessed or ploughed through obstacles was inspirational. Her efforts will continue to help so many people, and that stands as a testament to her vision and determination. Toby had a way of encouraging others, of lifting spirits, and of reminding us why our work matters. She made our work feel more human, more compassionate, more hopeful. As we say goodbye, we also carry forward the things Toby taught us: to care deeply, to work with purpose, and to make space for kindness. Her legacy lives on in the lives she touched and in the good that will continue because of her. Thank you, Toby, for everything. On behalf of everyone at Lives in the Balance who worked with you, we will miss you, but we will also continue the work you believed in with the same dedication you showed every day. As I wrote to our colleague Fiona, Toby wasn't through making the world a better place, and that means the rest of us have our marching orders.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to have the eulogy from Steve, her husband.
I have two sets of glasses. These are my reading ones. Toby was born in New York on the 23rd of September 1956 to Jean and Dolores Saxenmeier. She was to be the eldest child of the family with two sisters, Teresa, TC and Chris. She spent her formative years travelling around with the world with the family and spent some time in an international school in Zurich, where she discovered her love of learning and of travelling. She graduated in Shawnee Missionary High School in Kansas 1974, and she was awarded a Bachelor of Arts at Colorado College, where she also had a radio station, in 1980. In 1977, Toby took a long trip in Europe and ended up in Doolin, County Clare, and fell in love with the builder and musical edition there, returning annually for the summers to work at Arranview B&B in the village so she could afford to stay longer. She even worked at Lisdoonvarna Festival, selling tickets. In 1983, she put up in with a friend and bought a ruined castle in Ballingaddy, Ennistimon, with a view of doing it up. And several tenants looked after the cottage while she returned to America to continue her studies. She became a Master of Arts in Buffalo and specialised in child psychology, and then became a licensed psychologist in 1994. She returned and visited Ballingaddy as often as her work and studies would allow. But it wasn't until she became a first responder on 9/11 that she decided she was going to travel to Clare permanently, and she began work in Cork, travelling home several times a week. In 1977, while organising the second Mardi Gras, she met me. I was eating cheesy chips because it was a cold, wet day and I couldn't do the gardens. I used to be a lawn cutter. I offered to help, and together we put up posters and we started to become more and more friendly as we found more and more in common. Toby was very, very proud
to become an Irish citizen in 2009. And we it was happening, the court in Corrigan, they didn't have the big meetings that they have now. It was a county court, and we went in, and there were prisoners in handcuffs, and there were Garda there, looking stern, and she swore allegiance to Ireland, and it took all of about 5 minutes before we got into trouble, because we came out of the court and we were going, yes, and someone came out and said, shh, you're still in the court. So I also think Deborah Lowry was kind of responsible for that, because she was there with us. It wasn't all me, it wasn't all my fault. We realised, though, over time that we were becoming soulmates, and we faced some trials, including the passing of her mother. We faced it together, and we got through it. Like every good romance story, we eloped, went to New Orleans and got married on the 9th of September 2014. Toby stayed up till the very early hours of the morning in New Orleans so she could phone up Owen O'Neill and say, we've just got married. She was working backwards and forwards between Cork, and she eventually came up here and moved to St Joseph's Psychology Unit in Radio Cork-a-Bashkin, and Musical Chairs were excellent shows. And Murphy used to travel with her to the radio station, and we've got many pictures of Murphy looking at the buttons, not knowing exactly what to do. When Toby became involved in Lies in the Balance, she threw her heart and soul into it. It spoke to her on a soul level, and she was determined to bring it to Ireland, and she did. One of the saddest things, I think, was that she was in hospital when the conference happened, and she couldn't get to it. She was heartbroken, but it didn't stop her from using the computer to get in touch with everybody, even though she had pipes and tubes all over the place. I'm going to miss her really, really badly. I've been holding myself together because for the first 2 days of her passing, I broke. I just broke. She had health problems for a long, long time, and the last few weeks of her life she became extremely ill. On the morning of Sunday the 30th of November, after a very restless night, she came to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning and said, "You can start the Christmas decorations, but don't do the tree. You're doing that with me, and also the skaters." If you ask anybody how they would like to pass, they would say, at home, in my own bed, asleep, and surrounded by my loved ones. And that's exactly how she went. At 3:30, I went in and asked her if she wanted to get up, and here's a drink. And she had gone. She'd left us. She was my love of my life, my partner in crime, and my soulmate. And she drifted away as I was doing something that I like to do, which is put up the Christmas decorations. And I actually finished putting up the Christmas decorations over the last week. One of the last things she said to me was that 2026 was going to be our year because 2025 had been pretty pants up until then. If I could ask you just for one thing to take away from here today, could I ask you, in a world where you can be absolutely anything, please be kind. Thank you. And now it's time, I gotta go. Say goodbye to Toby one last time, the love of my life, and one of the best friends anyone could have ever wished for. Good night, my love, and sweet dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, for such a moving tribute. Steve would also like to thank the HSC and all her work colleagues for their flexibility and support during her illness and this last week, to the Ennistimon Community School for supporting and giving him time, and to all of the community, everyone who's been helpful. We know it's hard to say goodbye, but that we must. Toby believed more in the present than in an afterlife, but she has left so much good in this life that it will live on in the future. She will be well remembered, and you can still listen to her radio shows if you wish to find them on some platform. I'm not sure where. But mostly she will live in your hearts, where she carved herself a special place, like she did when she found her heart home in Clare. Continue to walk in step with her and be kind to each other, as Steve so beautifully said. To send her on her way, we're going to have one last song from Richie Jones. After that, the curtains will close gently, and we'll go back to our lives and places we came from. May her stories live on in the times you share, and to remember her often, and will.
I'd just like to say thanks to Steve and Toby for their support and care for many, many years. And it should really be Johnny Cash singing to Toby, but maybe he is. Oh, all the money e'er I had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm I've ever done, I swear it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass, good night and joy be with you all. Oh, all the comrades ere I had, they're sorry for my going away, and all the sweethearts ere I had, they wished me one more day to stay. But as it falls unto my lot, that I shall leave and you shall not, I gently rise and softly call, good night and joy be with you all.